Welcome back to I Love This Movie. Here with your host, Matt, and I'm joined as always by Adam and Corey. And we're going to keep the theme of Christmas holiday classics going for the month of December. And this week's pick is my pick, which is everyone's favorite, at least in my eyes, The Santa Claus, starring Tim Allen. It was directed by John Pasquin. And as we all know, there's been Santa Claus 2 and 3, but nothing compares to the first Santa Claus. A little recap on Santa Claus if you've never seen it. It follows a divorcee, Scott Calvin, who is disgusted to learn that his ex and her husband have tried and failed to break it easily to their 6-year-old son, Charlie, that Santa isn't real. So on Christmas Eve, Scott reads the night before Christmas and then receives an unexpected visitor on the roof. Scott ultimately startles the individual on the roof. The individual falls off and come to realize that it is the real Santa Claus. From there, the Santa Claus vanishes, and Scott Calvin picks up the suit, puts it on, and finds reindeer and sleigh on the roof. From there, him and his son Charlie take over responsibilities and they deliver presents. Thinking that it was all a dream, he ends up and finds himself at the North Pole. From there, he realizes that he's going to have to be the new Santa based on the Santa Claus. So before we go in and I get the initial thoughts from Corey and Adam, I picked this because there's something about Tim Allen's performance in this role as Scott Calvin, who is a successful businessman. He comes from, this broken family where he's trying to still be that dad for his son. And even though he's busy with the business life, he's still trying to keep the magic and the dream alive, while dealing with his ex-wife and her husband, who insists that we don't lie to Charlie anymore. From there, he builds upon that relationship with his son, and no matter how hard he is to fight it, he finally comes to the realization that he's the new Santa Claus, and he embraces it and realizes that's only going to strengthen his bond with his son. There's something about the story that is magical. It's a story that as a kid, who wouldn't want their dad to be Santa Claus and be able to experience that? So I think as a kid, whenever, we were growing up, that was one of the things that was appealing to me as an individual and to, I'm sure, to many others. But overall, there's a lot that I love about the movie. There's very little that I don't like, but I'd like to get some initial feedback and thoughts on the movie from both Corey and Adam. So I'll go ahead and I'll start with Corey. What were your initial thoughts on the Santa Claus?
As you can tell by my sweater, I absolutely love Christmas. I love Christmas movies. This is one of my favorite Christmas movies. This is one of the ones we watch every year with the kids. I love Tim Allen as the Santa Claus, as the movie is titled. I enjoyed the movie, the story from beginning to end. There's a couple things I have some issues with. It's more questions than issues with the movie. Just understanding the world itself, having some questions about it, but I'll get to those later. But overall, I really enjoy the movie.
Yeah, so I'm interested to hear your questions because there are some issues I have with this. And it has nothing to do with most of Tim Allen's performance, because Tim Allen in the first half of this is everything we love about him as an actor. So the reason Tim Allen was so successful in the 90s was, he was playing this everyman who has a lot of confidence, but stumbles all the time, like his Tim Taylor character on Home Improvement. That's the reason that show was #1. And so he was kind of playing that similar character because, that's what he was known for and that's what worked at that time. So I liked all of those scenes where he was that type of character. Once he started to become Santa, started getting a little bit bigger with the white beard, he had to make the transition to the lovable Santa, but I miss the old Scott Calvin, because I wanted to see more of the Tim Taylor and the Tim Allen that is sarcastic and witty and dry and I want to see that more. So once they get to the North Pole, this becomes a very different movie for me.
Yeah, I agree.
If we were to stop that right there with your comment and put some scary, like, suspenseful music, you would think that we were going into some horror movie, because you're like, and then they went to the North Pole, and that's when everything changed for me that day.
Well, and the reason why it becomes a different movie, and in some ways it kind of is a horror movie, because I really don't like child actors. And that's all we get with the elves. And it's so weird because they're not playing kids. They're playing elves that are thousands of years old. So they're mature. They have, personalities that aren't very much childlike. They're not elf-like either. I don't like it.
That they had baby elves too?
They even had baby elves, which I guess were 250 years old at that point, right?
Well, where did they come from? That's questions I don't want to answer, guys. But I agree with you. I just wish, I do agree with you in that once he becomes Santa Claus, I wish he still had Scott Calvin, I wish he was still Scott Calvin, but he just completely changes, like, everything about himself, and it's just kind of weird. I just have questions about just everything about how that works, how the magic works. The prior Santa, this guy has magic, right? So obviously he goes around the entire world, delivers presents to all these kids. Awesome. But he purposely went to Scott Calvin's house and made a clatter. And he took his time to deliver those presents. He had a death wish, guys. He wanted to go. He knew it was his time. He wanted someone to take his place. And the other question I have is, once he gets back to the North Pole, the elves really don't care. Like, they don't have any allegiance to the prior one. And my mind is like, then does he just, like, eventually just become Santa, and then Scott Calvin is no more? But the thing that's also weird is, where's Mrs. Claus? Did she just vanish? Because there had to be a Mrs. Claus. You've seen the second one. There has to be a Mrs. Claus.
Yeah, so let's talk about that theory, because that falls in line with a theory that I'm pretty in the weeds on. And that theory is this, that there's different timelines of different Santa Clauses, but they all run to the same point in location, meaning that the person that fell off the roof was a Scott Calvin in a different timeline, which is replaced by Scott Calvin. And once you go into that and you start thinking in terms of that, you start becoming and seeing that he never is not Scott Calvin. So whenever the elves see him, they're not shocked. Whenever the reindeer see him, they're not really shocked. No one is surprised or shocked. If anything, the head elf, as well as the other elves, expect him to just fall in line and understand it. They almost get upset that they don't understand and cannot fathom why it's so difficult for him to understand what he needs to do.
Yeah, I agree. That theory makes a lot of sense to me. Just because something has to make sense, because there's just no reason why, like, any of the elves would act that way. It's just so weird. I don't understand that particular aspect of the movie. And then if you watch the future movies, it really doesn't make sense because of the fact that the second one he has to get a Mrs. Claus, and they talk about like that he's like the best Santa, and I'm like, but like, there's been prior Santas, but then are they the same Santa?
My theory is, whenever Santa wants to retire, he doesn't die. He just finds somebody to pass it on to by making a loud clatter, falling off a roof, and he disappears into his old identity. Once his old identity takes shape, Mrs. Claus goes back to her old identity, because they just disappear. They just disappear. It's not like there's a body they have to put in the East River. They just disappear. So Mrs. Claus disappears, goes back to her old identity. And once, that happens, all the elves realize, got a new Santa. All right, let's go.
Oh, this is heavy.
There's that word again, heavy. Why are things so heavy in the future? Is there a problem with the Earth's gravitational pull?
What?
You just blew my mind.
Yeah.
That is absolutely brilliant. It's better than Matt's, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's listen.
Oh my gosh.
So let's that is, yes, you blew mine out of the water as well as Corey's. Let's take this for a ride then. Are you saying, and we're just going to go ahead and play this out, are you saying that so whoever it is, let's just take Scott Calvin for example. So Scott Calvin, let's say eventually he's ready to retire. He falls off the roof. He goes back to his original self at the time that he became Santa, which in theory, time has not passed because he does not miss anything because he can't go back, because if he lives 100 years, everybody he knows is dead.
Guys, he's Steve Rogers, man. This is the same question.
He'd have to go back to the original, like his original, like the day he became it.
Yeah, so I would say the magic of Santa Claus is you are doing a service. You are giving up your time for however long it is. If he does it for 100 to 500 years, part of that service is a reward that you get to go back to where your timeline started as Santa, and you get to live your life like nothing ever happened. So you'll get to watch your son, Charlie, grow up twice.
I was going to say, but
wait a second.
So the question I have.
Here, hold on. So let's just take that theory, okay?
Yeah.
So let's say I'm Santa Claus. I'm Santa Claus for 500 years. Okay? I retire. So I fall off the roof. I vanish. I go back to my original body. At that point, is the Santa Claus that I'm seeing me? Or is the Santa Claus that I'm seeing someone else?
It's a good one. The other thing I thought about...
You would not see a Santa Claus because Santa cannot be seen by adults.
So,
in theory, right? In theory.
By Scott Calvin.
He can't, okay.
But the question I also have is, if that theory is the one we're going with, once you go back in time, then you already know everything that happened.
Well, unless they like Men in Black you. And you get the flash, and
that could be it. You know what? I think that's it. I think your memory of Santa disappears once you give it up, and you go back to your timeline, and it's almost like nothing ever happened. I think
it would haunt you if you knew like that something happened to like someone that you knew, and you knew about it, but you couldn't stop it. Like I feel like that would kind of drive you crazy, but I feel like that solves it. Okay, all right, I'm back on board.
Yeah, that's the answer.
We're going with Christmas magic and Men in Black phasers or whatever they're called.
Well, it'd be like the elves in black or something.
Yeah.
And instead of like a pen where they go, it'd be like a candy cane or something like that, or a lollipop. Yeah. Be something elf related.
I do have a couple comments. So a couple things I noticed. When he initially gets to the first time when he goes to North Pole, when he reads to Santa Claus, one of the Easter eggs, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but he does go around. He's walking around the toy shop, and he picks up a tool belt, and he puts it around, he puts it up to his waist, and he kind of looks at it, and it's kind of a reference to his obviously his home improvement show. The other thing, Santa uses FedEx. I don't know if you noticed that when he gets the nice and naughty list delivered. It was delivered by FedEx.
I'm fully aware.
I didn't realize that this movie was that old. I mean, it was 1992, which by today's standards is fairly old.
Yeah.
Not FedEx. It was Federal Express.
Yeah.
Federal Express, which I don't know when they officially changed it to FedEx. Matt, do you know?
The comments that you're making don't matter to the film. So,
I had that
could
one
share-
circled. I was ready for it, man.
Here's the deal. In my personal and professional life, I don't say that F word, okay? I can say a bunch of different F words. That's not one that I like to say. I did notice it, okay?
So what you're saying is you work for another parcel service.
I work for another parcel service.
That is not Federal
That's
Express.
Not that. And we're a better color. We are bigger. We're better. And maybe the next Santa Claus, whoever that is, will decide to go with the right team.
With that, a word from our sponsor, UPS. what can Brown do for you?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, I did notice it. And it's killed me ever since I started working for UPS. It has been a sticking point. But I'll chalk it up to this. In most movies that you see, Christmas or not, if it's in a city environment, you're bound to see a brown UPS truck somewhere in that vicinity. And there has been some different paying homage. My favorite one is Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, even though he's kicking the box. And then we can't forget King of Queens, the TV show with Kevin James. So, yeah, thank you, Corey, for bringing that up. I appreciate it so much.
And
You're
since
welcome.
we're on that topic, there's another movie that features FedEx that I just realized it is a Christmas movie by your standards, Corey, because you say Die Hard's a Christmas movie because Die Hard features a Christmas tree and it's around Christmas time. Castaway, featuring Tom Hanks, is a Christmas movie.
Well, you got one thing right. Their planes do fall out of the sky and they do crash. So there's that.
I'm
Nothing
glad
like delivering a package years later. So on-time performance is crap. So
And we don't even know what the package is. We don't even know. We don't even get to know. But I guess that's the point of it, because the package symbolizes hope. Just like the entire Federal Express company symbolizes hope that one day you will get your package, no matter if it's early or late or on time.
guys, I didn't like Neil very much. What are your thoughts?
Neil, to me, was a
condescending jerk.
yeah, and I mean, Judge Reinhold plays him like he plays most characters. I mean, he reminded me of the character he played on Seinfeld, the close talker. He has the same like cadence and the same type of personality. It's just he's not talking 2 inches away from everybody's nose. I didn't mind him that much. I mean, he is annoying. I mean, and he is overstepping his boundaries way too much. Like, no stepdad has the right to tell their stepson whether or not Santa is real.
Yeah, I had a real problem with that as a parent, and I just like they were trying to paint Scott Calvin to be the bad parent, but I was like, you guys aren't being really good parents. You guys are like, you can let a 6-year-old have an imagination and believe in Santa.
Exactly.
And also,
yeah,
they want to think they're good parents, but they drove in the snow, and that kid did not have a seatbelt on. I know it was the 90s, but I wore seatbelts in the 90s.
Well, that's actually the point you made about him being 6 years old. Now, if he was a junior in high school, that's one thing, right? But he's 6. He's still in kindergarten, first grade. But yeah, about first grade.
Yeah.
There's no way that they should be pushing, reality on him.
Yeah.
That young.
Because he believes in Santa, and I know Scott's pushing it a little bit by becoming Santa, and they think it's an act to get attention, but still to like try to take custody away from him and all these things. I was just like, oh, come on, it's hard to get behind you. I know they're trying to say that essentially they're doing the right thing, but I was like, man, I don't know. I just can't get behind them.
And just in case any kids are watching, all 3 of us are absolutely in agreement. Santa Claus is
He's real.
100% real.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to say a UPS driver, but yes, he is real.
I was actually going to say a United States postal worker, but
yeah. I mean, well, They lose billions of dollars every year. They take a loss. Can't make a profitable business. But whenever you're run by the government, they just keep bailing you out. So, I
feel like I really struck a nerve here. He's just gonna keep bringing up like statistics and all these things.
They're just embedded in my memory. So, moving right along, yes, Santa Claus is definitely real. And he's as real as people want to make him. And I feel bad for the people that don't allow their kids or themselves to, participate and give them the opportunity to believe, because it takes away a lot of the fun for both the kids and the parents and the people around them. Looking at some of my favorite parts of the movie, there's a reason why I picked this one. I do like the sarcastic Scott Calvin, and it was kind of in the middle where he's starting to gain a little weight. And one of the scenes that always gets me is, and by the way, that fat suit was about 50 pounds. And they had to, in some cases, glue it on to his skin, especially during the doctor visit, because they had to make it look real, and he had his shirt up and the doctor's checking him. But whenever he goes to the office and he gets called to his office and none of his suits fit because he's gained all this weight, he shaves and he walks in and he sits down and everybody's looking at him. They're staring and they're getting ready to order lunch, and he orders like a ton of stuff off the menu. And after he's done ordering, one of the ladies sitting beside him goes, "Stung by a bee, Scott?" And he just looks and goes, "It was a big bee." And then the Jeopardy music starts playing as he's finishing his sundae. And right at the end where it goes bum bum, he takes that last bite. And then he does his whole storyboard. Whenever the guy starts talking about Santa coming in a tank to all the kids, and he goes off on that guy, that rant to me is Tim Allen. It's gold. Oh, here comes Santa.
Oh, isn't that a nice look? Santa in a Panzer. Yes.
Yeah. Those scenes, that scene in particular, that always stands out in my mind. And it was like everything played so well. The way he looked, him ordering, the comments, and then the Jeopardy music into that, and just a total like almost mental breakdown on what he's going through, and then gets sent home. On the same token, though, there was a lot of little things that Adam already talked about, like the, and Corey, you mentioned like the elves and it being like kids. But there's a scene where they're getting ready to like go out, and it's the night of Christmas, and "Give Me All Your Lovin'," that song comes on, and it's whenever the cops are being sent out to basically arrest anybody that looks like Santa Claus. And here comes "Give Me All Your Lovin'," and it's Tim Allen, it's his son Charlie, it's like that.
It's Judy, it's Bernard,
it's everybody. And they're walking down a hallway, and it's smoky, and on beat, they all stop and they go, yeah, and they're doing a dance, and there's no rhyme or reason to it walking down the hallway. I mean, none of that needed to be there. It's almost like they had to fill time, and it's just so corny.
Which I wonder if they're referencing something that we just don't know. Like, is there something in the "Give Me All Your Loving" music video from ZZ Top where they do that? Or is there anything that they're referencing that we missed?
I don't know. I'm not an expert on ZZ Top music videos. Maybe it was because he had a beard. ZZ Top, they were famous.
Yeah,
it could be that simple.
But I just hated it. It's so pointless and it's so corny, and it's almost like even as a kid, I would watch it and I'd go, "Why are we doing that? Like, what's the point? Like, it's not the time to dance. You're getting ready to go save Christmas. What are you doing?"
So that particular scene, yes, I 100% agree. When I was a kid, I would watch that and go, that doesn't look right. And I would always focus on Charlie because he's like 3.5 foot, and watching Scott Calvin, Tim Allen as Santa do it is okay, but watching Charlie do it too, it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
kind of weird.
And why was Judy there? Did she have a purpose? Was she making hot cocoa?
She made the hot cocoa recipe, man. She worked hard on that.
But was the reason why she was there because they installed the cookie compact disc and all that stuff, and was that the only reason why she was walking with him? They
also on the sleigh they also dispersed her hot chocolate. I feel like they had her there because it was like one of the 2 elves that they actually introduced to everyone. So they wanted to have her and Bernard. Those were like the 2 elves you spent the most time with. So I really enjoyed his first trip as Santa. I just thought it was great improvising by Tim Allen. It was just great lines. It was a lot of just one-liners he had here and there. I enjoyed it.
He also paid homage to Tim the Toolman Taylor, where he goes, he did ho ho ho, but he went ho 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 like that.
Yeah.
Ho, ho, ho.
I enjoyed that part. I really didn't like the elves with attitude and the prison breakout scene. I thought that was cringy. The way that they I know the time and it was bad CGI, but like how they flew, like doing these flips and stuff, and that whole scene, it was rough. That's like the worst part of the movie to me. But I didn't
like them spinning the security or the prison guard. You didn't like them spinning him around in the chair and then stuffing a donut in his mouth?
No. They no, not at all. Thought it was just, no, it's just so cringy to me. I just didn't like it.
So that brings me to my original point where I just don't necessarily like child actors. And it has to do with the quality. Like sometimes you'll get an amazing child actor, like the cast of Stand By Me. You have River Phoenix, but that's the exception, and that's not always the case, and that's not always the rule. And it's not their fault. It's not the kid's fault. And I'm not trying to say, I don't want to come across as criticizing kids for performing, because I mean, they're kids. They don't have the training, the maturity to act. It's really the filmmaker's fault for not getting a response out of them. Like Spielberg works really well with child actors because he can get a response out of them. Look at E.T., look at Jurassic Park. There's a huge difference between those types of performance and the performances you see in Santa Claus, where it's almost like the director just wanted to get take after take and just move it along. And so when you watch some of the scenes with Charlie, it's just kind of annoying the way he phrases some of his lines, and it's almost like he's always ending on a high note, like he's always going up in cadence. And then the child actors with the elves with attitude, like the way that he just is like, tinsel, not just for decoration. Like the way he delivers that is just, yeah, it's cringy.
I wonder what that kid's doing right now. The elf.
No idea. Do you care?
No, I don't. But because that was probably his claim to fame. He's probably still like on that right now, being like, yeah, I was the elf that said that. I was it. Yeah, no, overall, I mean, we talked about some of the theories which have made me rethink everything. I know we talked about some of our favorite scenes, some fun facts, about the movie. And I think we're ready to make our ratings. So, I'm going to go ahead and I'll finish it out since it was my pick, but I'll go ahead and start with Corey. What are you rating this movie?
Well, he's got to start with me. I'm kidding. Oh man, as a Christmas movie, I really enjoy it. As I said, as we said before, we're not rating this as overall movie. It's just a Christmas movie. I think it's one you got to watch every year. It's a really good one, especially compared to the other Santa Claus movies. Tim Allen, his performance just makes it's just great. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10.
Okay.
All right. So my favorite scene that we really didn't talk about, we kind of alluded to it. Like when you said, Corey, that the best, part of the movie is when he's making the first Christmas run. When he goes to the house of the girl on the couch and he is just over it at that point, and he is so mean and he's such a jerk. And he's like, if you don't go to sleep, I'm taking all this stuff back up. And then she's like, well, you didn't drink the milk and eat the cookies. He says, oh, I'm lactose intolerant. And then they bring him back full circle at the end, a year later, when he's drinking soy milk because she remembered. I love how they connected that, and that's my favorite scene. If it weren't for the elves, and again, I wasn't a fan of the Charlie character. I just thought he was kind of annoying. Again, it's not the kid's fault. It's not the child actor's fault. It's the director's fault. I'm giving this a 6 out of 10.
All right, I can understand that. And now it comes to me, and this was my pick. There's a lot of positives that come from the Santa Claus, and I can't say the same for Santa Claus 2 or 3, because it is a downward spiral from Santa Claus, the first movie that we just reviewed. It is awful the rest of the way. Corey probably likes the sequel because he seems to like sequels, no matter how terrible they are.
Second one's not that bad.
Okay. So looking at everything and all the positives along with the negatives, with all that being said, I'm going to rate it an 8.5 out of 10, so an 8.5 out of 10. It is one of my favorites every year, but it doesn't get the full 10. It didn't meet every single criteria, but overall, I do love this movie. So that wraps it up for this episode. We appreciate everybody that's tuned in and watched. Before we go, please make sure that you like, follow, and subscribe on our YouTube channel. Make sure to leave us some comments on what you'd like to see next. And then make sure that you rate us. Thumbs up. We're on all social media platforms, so give us a follow, give us a like, share with your friends. And if you can't watch the YouTube episodes, please make sure that you follow us for our podcasts, which we're on Anchor as well as Spotify and soon to be Apple Podcasts. So on behalf of the I Love This Movie crew, Adam and Corey, this is Matt, and we will see you next week.